It's finally here, everybody, the Stanchurian candidate. And on September 7th, Bill is back!
This episode has to be one of the most hyped up episodes of the whole season, with both a fake Twitter account and a webpage made to promote it. Like seriously, look at this thing, it's got music and everything! With such unusual promotion techniques, the people behind Gravity Falls must really see something special in this episode.
It was super awesome! I can't wait to get right into it.
Stands the man with a plan. He'll take this crummy backwoods town and make it grand. He's got ethics, sure enough. He's electable and all that stuff. Stand, he's the man.
After being upstaged by Ford yet again, Stan turns on the news and finds out that the mayor of Gravity Falls is dead and in need of a replacement, and it's pretty clear that Stan intends to run.
Which he does. Apparently, to be mayor, you have to be able to cast a shadow, count to 10, and throw your hat into a ring. Bud Gleeful does this, but right before he had a chance to take the oath of office, Stanley jumps in and begins to run as well. So does a lot of the town, apparently wanting a real election.
Now, there are a lot of aspects of this show that I enjoy watching, but Stan Pines and Bud Gleeful's petty business rivalry isn't one of them. That isn't because of bad writing or anything, it just isn't what I personally want to see. So while there isn't anything wrong with making this episode about Stan and Bud competing for something, I can't really say it's a choice I'm too fond of.
It did set up a really great episode with some magical spells though, and you wouldn't be able to see Bill again if it wasn't for this episode happening either. So I'd say it's a win-win.
And I say let's keep the episode going.
You just made a powerful enemy. I'll win, and when I do, you might not like the Gravity Falls you wake up in.
Wait, I don't think town mayors have the ability to just shut down random tourist traps on a whim. Then again, considering the really weird way Gravity Falls goes about choosing candidates, the mayor of Gravity Falls can probably just do whatever he wants.
Gravity Falls elections are based on two events: the Wednesday stump speech, held on an actual stump, and the Friday debate, wherein townsfolk throw birdseed at the candidate they liked most.
Yeah, this town just got 20% weirder.
You're listening to Falls Radio, 24-hour news and bear rampage alerts.
Why?
Just to remind you, Gravity Falls has to deal with giant gnome monsters, gravity-defying anomalies, ghosts, evil memory-erasing secret societies, and Pacifica Northwest. I'm pretty sure bear rampages are the least of their worries.
If anything, Doritos should be more of a concern. For the next portion of this episode, they poorly advertise Stanley until Stan Ford gives the twins a mind-controlling tie, letting them control Stanley and making his polls go way up.
So now, whenever Stan is about to admit to a crime or make a petty comment about people's appearances, the twins can take over his mind and steer the speech back on course. Bud doesn't take too kindly to this, and goes to consult his campaign manager.
Minor setback? Minor setback!
Oh boy, we're going here.
Woo! So here, Gideon is mad at his father for not being able to pull ahead in the polls, and I quote, "It's almost like magic." So Gideon wants to fight fire with fire, using a spell that he smuggled into prison from the journal to take control of his dad.
Alright guys, we need to have a serious discussion about this little blue ball of madness.
Hit it, Dad! Oh, I can't.
This is Gideon. He was the main antagonist throughout Season 1, but has since faded into the background for most of Season 2, which suits me fine because, spoiler alert, I don't like this character. Now, that isn't to say that I think he's a bad character, far from it. His personality is very uniquely his, and there are a lot of things about him that do stick in the brain. He's a memorable character, and that's fine for a villain, but he just isn't my cup of tea. I've never personally found his shtick entertaining. When he isn't getting a better villain to do his dirty work, or actually succeeding in what he wants to do, I pretty much just see him as a less entertaining version of Plankton trying to steal the formula. Again, this is a personal problem, and I'm not blaming the episode for this. Just know that when Gideon popped up on screen, I wasn't overjoyed or surprised. I just said, well, that was a thing, and moved on.
Personally, I think Gideon is a good way to move the plot forward. He's a small but huge problem, and once again, I quote from the very ending screen of the episode, "Be wary of whom you belittle, big problems can start out will." So all in all, I think Gideon is awesome. There's actually been some really great fan art of him, so I have no complaints.
I perfectly understand that. Like I said, he's not a bad character. Me not enjoying him is my problem, not the show's. But again, it's something to keep in mind if you're going to get my opinion on the episode.
But anyway, in the next scene, Stanley figures out that the twins have been controlling him. He goes off to the election polls without the tie and completely bombs. The twins also start to use Seuss as a new candidate, abandoning Stan. The whole point of them helping Stan was to stop Bud, and they're going to do that no matter who it is. Still kinda heartbreaking though.
Honestly, it's hard for me to really get too invested in the episode's conflict when the main thread is two people I don't care about. Still, the episode does have some funny lines and quite a bit of energy. It just hasn't done much for me so far.
But then, Gideon shows the kids that it's actually him controlling Bud. He ties into a bunch of fireworks inside the new memorial built for the old mayor, and they try to hop out, but fall instead, tied to a chair. Stanley jumps in and saves them like a boss.
Oh, I'd be happy to spare you, Mabel, if you agree to be mine. I even made you this wedding dress in crafts class.
Did you really have to bring that up, Gideon? I roll my eyes at your petty love obsession with Mabel.
We'll admit that's a bit old.
Stan hears Dipper and Mabel crying for help and rushes up to save them. It's a fine scene, although I personally would have enjoyed it more if it had been attached to a story I was more invested in.
We're sorry, Uncle Stan. We should have supported you, win or lose.
2 minutes earlier.
You're dying out there, Stan. Kids, you were right all along. I should have listened to you when I had the chance.
So everybody feels bad. Whoop-de-doo.
So, which lesson is it, episode? Should the twins have been more supportive to Stan, or should Stan have listened to the kids and used their speech ideas instead of his? In fact, come to think of it, if the twins were to act supportive and encourage Stan despite his techniques not working, Stan would lose, and that would hurt his self-esteem. But if Stan did use the kids' speech ideas, he would win. But after becoming mayor, he would suddenly have people pressuring him left and right to actually keep the promises that he read off of those speech cards. And considering how Stan's actual opinions seem to differ from the opinions Dipper and Mabel want him to speak, Stan would probably have a hard time living up to the image that the twins created for him during the campaign process. This would ultimately lead to the entire town turning on Stan and giving him the boot, seriously hurting his self-esteem. This is literally a no-win scenario.
And the episode ends with Stanley being disqualified and Tyler becoming the actual mayor. There was also a cute scene with Mabel and Dipper presenting Stan with an RHO sash. He just wants to be appreciated. Come on, people. He's awesome and nobody can tell me otherwise. I don't care what you say.
But I think the most interesting part of the episode is the ending, where Gideon decides that it's time to summon back Bill. It's a really surprising cliffhanger.
Anyway, this episode was really great. It was awesome and amazing in every way. It had some familiar characters, reintroduced Bill, which is amazing, and just generally had a great message and plotline. While Gideon is creepily adorable, which is kinda uncomfortable, all in all, this episode gets a 4.8.
This is a good episode that I don't like. For most of this video, I've talked mainly about how, despite my best efforts, I can't get myself invested in this episode's conflict because its main antagonists are characters I'm not interested in. But that's a very personal problem. While Gideon, and by extension his dad, aren't interesting characters to me, they aren't badly written by any stretch of the imagination. And even ignoring them, there are a lot of good things in the episode. They clearly put in a lot of work to give this episode a very unique aesthetic, with the patriotic stuff everywhere. They also made a lot of jokes about Stan acting like a horrible person despite running for mayor. There was definitely a lot of effort put into making this thing as huge and over the top as possible, and I can still respect that, even if the episode didn't get much of a reaction out of me. While I don't like the episode, I don't dislike it either, and I can appreciate what it does. I just don't imagine myself rewatching it anytime soon. I give this a 4.3 out of 5, but if I was just rating it based on how much I enjoyed it, it would get a 3.
Thanks everybody for watching, and we hope to see y'all in the next video. Adios!
When you cast your precious vote, just remember Stan's great quote.
Vote for me.
What a brilliant mind, truly Stan's the man. His platform's not a sham, so give him a hand. It will be fine, once again the sun will shine. Stanley Pines, he's the candidate.